According to a report following the James Harden trade, Philadelphia having all of these draft assets and they're opening up cap space. Could the Philadelphia 76ers be interested in a Donovan Mitchell trade? We're talking about that and another trade target here on today's show. It's 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Hope all of you have been having a fantastic weekend. And if you want fantastic Sixers coverage, this is your go-to spot. We're 502 people away from 13,000 subs. Let's continue to grow the channel here because the more subscribers that we pick up, the more coverage that we can bring you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Sixers. Nick Nurse has Philadelphia playing at a great level. 4 consecutive wins, 4 players averaging 20 or more points per game. But could another player be added to the mix for head coach Nick Nurse? Let's talk about this. And that player, the one who we showed you to start off today's show. So I came across this Philadelphia 76ers monitoring Donovan Mitchell's situation in Cleveland. Some potential targets to keep an eye on for Philadelphia include Zach LaVine, OG Anunoby, and another name that Philadelphia will monitor, that is Donovan Mitchell. That according to a report from Hoops Hype. And you think about the idea of Donovan Mitchell, right? He's been one of the best scorers in the NBA for a little while. But the question that I pose to you, and the question that I pose to producer Chip, do the Sixers even need to make a trade? Does Philadelphia right now and over the next couple of months leading up to the NBA trade deadline in February need to shake up this roster that right now is so fun to watch? And I'm having some of the most fun watching the Sixers in several years. It is refreshing that Philadelphia actually has a legitimate coach who is maximizing players in Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. But how about the play of Kelly Oubre? How about the play so far of Tobias Harris? This is a team that looks confident right now. So while you look at the Donovan Mitchell numbers here, 28 points per game, 2022, 2023, he's always averaging between 24 and 30. This guy is a walking bucket. He has had a lot of success in his playoff career, but he's ball dominant. He shoots a lot. He's not the most high-efficient scorer. And right now, I'm not sure if those things of dominating the basketball, being somebody who needs and demands a lot of shot opportunities would be good on this current Sixers team, because then it takes away from what we're seeing from Tyrese Maxey, who's all-star bound if he continues to play like this. Joel Embiid, assist numbers, way up this year. His passing ability in this offense has been unlocked by head coach Nick Nurse. Kelly Oubre Jr., whether he's coming in off the bench or in that starting 5, he's playing great hoop, and I love the efficiency from Tobias Harris. You look at some of the advanced numbers from Donovan Mitchell. They're actually not all that good. Catch and shoot three-point percentage, 37.5%. His pull-up three-point percentage, 39.2. Tyrese Maxey, much better in both of these categories, as we've talked about here on the show before. Less than 10 feet, solid finisher around the rim, floater game, layup package, reverses, 61.5%. So there's the playing style standpoint of this entire conversation, right? And that's what I was trying to uncover to kick off today's show. Then there's the contract situation as well. That's a little bit worrisome. Now, Philadelphia, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, projected to have between $50 and $65 million in cap space potentially in the offseason in 2024. They now have a couple of first-round picks that they can save for themselves to use in the future to bolster up this roster, or include those picks in a trade for an incoming superstar, like, let's say, for the purpose of this conversation, Donovan Mitchell. But you look at Donovan Mitchell's contract, and this year, $32.5 million. 2024, 2025, $34.8 million. That is less than Tobias Harris. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of James Harden, but then there's that player option looming too in 2025, 2026. So he's expensive. The good news is, if you really like the player, he's under contract for the next couple of years. While it is expensive, you do have him under team control. And he didn't sign that contract extension with Cleveland. So that's an important talking point of this conversation as well. Would you rather just allocate that money to Maxey's extension, re-signing Kelly Oubre Jr. if he continues to play like this, or bringing in another player like, let's say, OG Anunoby, who Nick Nurse is very fond of, who's a better two-way player, who doesn't demand the ball as much as Donovan Mitchell? Because right now what I don't want to do is take the ball out of Tyrese Maxey's hand. What he's doing right now is very, very special, and I want to continue to see this ascent. I want to see his game continue to bloom and blossom. Mitchell has always been linked to the New York Knicks. That's one of the other teams that you certainly have to factor in here. They were hard after him before he got traded from Utah to Cleveland. But I think he didn't re-sign with Cleveland because he wants to keep his options open in the future. He's already making a lot of money right now and might want to pivot out of Cleveland because who wants to live in Cleveland? Joe Ingles did say this about Donovan Mitchell. If you live in Cleveland and you're a Sixers fan, I forgive you and I love you. This is like non-biased, no outside info. I think he'll play for New York one day, Joe Ingles said. Whether that's sooner or later, I think it would be great for New York. And I think it would be great for him. Whether or not that actually happens, we'll wait and see. Ingles, of course, the Aussie, oi, 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 did play with Donovan Mitchell when they were with the Utah Jazz. And there's always been that paper trail kind of tying Donovan Mitchell to New York. And right now the Knicks are off to a sluggish start. Julius Randle is playing maddening basketball again. And Jalen Brunson has kind of been maximized as a player to a degree where it's hard for him to be the number one superstar on a team, right? But if you put him in a backcourt with Donovan Mitchell, I think that backcourt could be cohesive and pretty dangerous. And the Knicks, by the way, player assets and draft assets to give up in a trade for D-Mitch as well. And I wouldn't be concerned about him going to New York. They'd be fun to watch, but I still like the current iteration of Philadelphia's roster right now. Most importantly, the upgrade from Glenn Rivers to Nick Nurse. So with that, we pop up our poll question for today's show. Would you trade for Donovan Mitchell? You're Daryl Morey. You look over to your right-hand man. You ask Elton Brand why for yes and for no. My take, if the Sixers can keep this level of play up, they don't need Donovan Mitchell. I really like what I'm seeing right now. I will say this, and this is somewhat concerning as we project toward the playoffs, right? Right now, Philadelphia is off to this 4-1 start with hustle, with effort, with intensity, a better offensive system. They've bought in on the defensive end of the floor. In the playoffs, though, physical teams that are usually physical and other teams that actually hustle sometimes have that level of hustle and effort matched by another team in the playoffs, and it neutralizes a little bit. I'm not going there yet with Philadelphia, and I'm not going to say they're going to win the NBA championship with this roster. I'm just saying it's refreshing that this team is fun to watch and doesn't have any dysfunction or drama superstars like a James Harden on the roster. Coming up next, I talked about this earlier. I said Donovan Mitchell is one of two trade targets potentially for Philadelphia. Coming up, we're going to talk about a player who might make even more sense. Bojan Bogdanovic, stay tuned for that. First, get tuned in with Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app and the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America. We're giving you a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS for that deal to apply. It's daily fantasy sports made easy. You pick 2+ players, choose more or less on their projected stat lines, and it's another NFL Sunday. If you're watching this before the Eagles-Cowboys game, I'll be live on Eagles Now doing a watch party for that matchup. Here are my picks for Sunday. Saquon Barkley has averaged 27 touches over the last couple of weeks. More than 18.5 rushing attempts seems like a steal as Daniel Jones makes his return to the lineup. A.J. Brown, 6 consecutive games of 125+ yards, more than 6 receptions against Dallas. And then Jake Elliott and Brandon Aubrey, I think there could be field goals in this game at Lincoln Financial Field. More than 3.5 field goals made. Those are my Prize Picks. Tell me if you want. Sign up because you need to. prizepicks.com/CLNS. All of that information is available for you down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. So coming up next here, let's talk about the aforementioned Bojan Bogdanovic. This is a classic player that could be available via trade or the buyout market because he's a playoff championship type of player and piece to a team, and he's playing for an awful squad right now in the Detroit Pistons. I like his game a lot. I don't love his defense, but this is a player who actually played with Donovan Mitchell with the Utah Jazz, and he is a sniper from downtown. He can make for himself a little bit. He can create to a certain degree. He has the efficiency that I'm looking for, and what I want to hone in on here, 2022-2023, 41+% on his threes. on 6 3-point attempts per game. You put him around a Maxey. You put him around an Embiid. He doesn't take the ball out of their hands. He can hover around that 3-point arc, and if he's open, a lot of good chances that he's going to be able to stroke it and knock it down. Pause. And then you look at the other 3-point numbers. There is volume here with the 3-point attempts that he's chucking, and he is a chucker. But luckily, because he's a chucker, he's also a high-efficiency player. The last 4 years going into this year, ranging between 6 and 7 3-point attempts per night, and he's always been about a 39% guy. So there are pros and cons with him, of course. The pros, he is a great 3-point shooter, and I think he's a really good fit on this team. One of the cons that comes with that, I mentioned it very briefly, a below-average defender. And when it comes time for the playoffs, that does become a problem if he's a part of your closing 5, or if he's a critical 5 in that fourth quarter of a close game, if he can't get a stop on that end of the floor. Pros, he won't cost you a ton. You can try to find ways to hide him with the other 4 players that he's playing with, and I do have trust in Nick Nurse to do that. But then the con, 34 years old, injured a lot, especially over the last couple of years as the age goes up, as well as the injuries here. But it's not like he'd be relied upon to do what he did with Utah, to do what he's done throughout his career at moments when the load for him, as far as minutes and shots and offensive production, is great. Sixers would have no problem matching his $20 million salary. In fact, they could include some of the players that they got from the Clippers, but of note, can't do that until after the turn of the new calendar year because of their contractual situations and when the trade took place. But that's also an option. Also some news here, Nicholas Batum expected to be available for Philadelphia on Monday against the Washington Wizards. As for the Sixers trade candidates, Batum is one of them. Marcus Morris could be another. I mean, shoot, you pair Marcus Morris, Mo Bamba, and you throw in some cash considerations, that's the $20 million right there. You pair any of these players together, you're getting close or you're over than that $20 million, and then they send somebody else to you, and you find a way to make the salaries match. Important to note this here as well, Sixers can't trade any of their players that they got for Harden with each other until January 1st, as I said, just by way of NBA rules. And obviously, that plays a role in this entire conversation as far as having or being trade candidates for Philadelphia, I should say. All right, let's finish strong here. What say you? I want to hear from you down below in the comment section. Do you think that Daryl Morey should make another move? If so, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If not, I want you to comment why. I explained why I don't want the Sixers to make a trade right now all throughout the show. Now is your chance to be a part of the show and comment why down below. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the tail end of your weekends. Go Eagles, go Sixers. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll catch you next time here on the show.